Hi, y'all. It's Arwen, and welcome to the third show of You Never Know. I'm really excited to introduce my guest. You know that last week we had Magical with JJ and Ceresia. This week we have PA Minnell, who is from New Zealand and is the creatrix of an oracle called the Maori Oracle. Polly, welcome to my show. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you, Arwen. I'm so glad to be here. Kia ora, America.
Thank you. Oh, like, kia ora? I didn't do it right.
You know, the intent is there. The word is kia ora, but you'll hear it pronounced many different ways around New Zealand, so it's
awesome.
All good.
Well, I am really glad you're here. Polly and I all talked a little bit yesterday, and actually we talked today for Polly, but it was yesterday for me. So I always have to ask anytime I talk to somebody who's on the other side of the world, how's Tuesday looking? And should we go ahead and wake up tomorrow? Is it going to be a good day?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon New Zealand time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We're just starting to come into summer too, so...
Oh, that's right.
We're starting kind of like exactly the opposite.
Yeah, because we're just getting wet and cold here in Texas. I mean, it was like 36 here today, which is about 2 Celsius, I think. Celsius. So it's wet. I can do cold, but the wet just makes it so much worse. So, and I can't... Y'all, I can't see the chat room right now, so if people are talking in the chat room, I can't see you right now. I've lost the link because I've been, Arwen today. Those of you who know me will know I've just been Arwen. Polly, I wanted to first, I couldn't find my copy of the Oracle. I don't know where I have put it. I've been doing some cleaning, and that's a bad thing. So, and your picture is still frozen, so...
It is. I can't tell what I'm doing.
We'll just let it go. I do have a few pictures up for the deck.
Awesome.
So you...
everybody knows I like...
Outside, is it?
Say it again,
on the outside.
Okay.
Yeah. Because my picture that I can see Arwen talking. There's no movement on Eric's picture, and mine is totally frozen.
Yeah, and Eric's will be frozen because he just puts up an icon. I'm not sure it's the real Eric. We're still worried about that. But so the deck. I first want to ask you why. Why an Oracle deck? Why a Maori deck? Why? What made you wake up one day and go, we need one?
Many years ago, I was on a trip to Rotorua, which is about 5 or 6 hours away from where I live. And every now and then you're in these places and you get a real strong sense of whakapapa, which is family histories, family stories, that sort of thing. And we've always had the matakite ability in our family, so we talk to Apahau, which is the visiting dead, frequently. But this fella I didn't know, and he started visiting quite often, and he'd get me out of bed in the wee hours of the morning, all sorts of things. So, and he was very eloquent. He made it very clear that he wanted some stuff done, so... we started to move into doing it. And, I mean, that must have been about 8 years ago now, 9 years ago. Why an oracle in particular and not a tarot? I have seen people ask for a Maori tarot before. It was just the way the path went, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It was just the way the path went. And when you're speaking to the Apahau...
Well, it would seem to me...
You're told.
I would think that an oracle deck would fit more in keeping with the tribal way of divination than a tarot deck would. Am I...
Actually, yeah, you'd be right about that. I mean, a lot of the stories are based on like little things that we'd always had, like when the kawai, which is a yellow flower, when that blooms, it's time for, you can go eat the sea eggs, the kina, but it's best for when the pahurakawa is blooming, which blooms, well, it's called the New Zealand Christmas tree. There were other things as well where we had more signs and portents, and the word would be tohu for omens and things like that. Mm-hmm. So, and we did actually have a form of divination that I don't know if anybody actually practices anymore, and it was generally sticks for each person in the party if they're going off on an expedition or on a war party or something like that, and they would use divination then to see, whether or not it was going to have a good outcome. In the south, they'd pick the middle bit out of a bit of harakeke, which is the New Zealand flax, and if it broke in a certain way, then it would be a good outcome, and if it broke in a bad way, well, you didn't go. So they worked on stuff like that all the time. You work on, you'll hear people go out and say, oh, such and such flowering too early, it's going to be a dry summer, and the whole thing was like that. If you had a fantail in your house, the piwakawaka, you would have everybody would be going, oh, what's it in the house for? Because for some, depending on the colour of the tail, it could be an omen that somebody in the family was about to pass. So, and that's still today, even today. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. An oracle is way more in fitting with the way we tend to read things, So.
And how many cards are in your deck?
58.
58. Is there a reason for that number, or is that just the number that you stopped at, or?
That's just the number where we stopped at. There are actually many, many more, but that just seems like the place to stop. I don't know why. I can't tell you why.
No, when you're listening to guides, when you're being told what you need to do, you listen and you're like, okay, that's the stop point. We're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
yeah. It's remarkably clear. So.
I know that in Australian Aboriginal tribals, there are certain things like women don't play the didgeridoo. Are there certain things in terms of divination that women can't do or women do?
Oh, well, see, this is a bit of a funny subject, really, because these days there's a lot of things that women are not expected to do. But in pre-Christian times, they did, in fact, partake in. And like the tohangas, for example, and you'll find that a different word depending on what tribe you're talking to. The Tuhoi call the tohanga a tohuna. And down south, it's called a tohuka. And in the northern part of New Zealand, it's generally known as a tohanga. And a tohanga is... when you're talking about a tohanga who specialises in gardening, you're not just talking about somebody who knows the soil. You're talking about somebody who knows the names of every plant and its spiritual whakapapa, its spiritual family history. So there's a lot more to the whole term of expert, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So, gone off track. What was your question?
That's good. So that's almost like a priest of the garden. They would be like, because they're connected above and below.
Yes, and the north, so far as I understand, and I may be wrong because each tribe sticks to what they teach within their tribe. Or the Maori word for that is iwi, or if you're talking the old word for that, that's hapu. I've done it again. Oh, God. I'm just nervous.
You're doing fine, honey.
Now, let me think. Sorry, go back. What was your question?
So we were talking about what women can do and can't do.
Ah, yes.
And you were talking about the pre-Christian being very different from the now.
Yeah, see, amongst the Kati Mamoi, which are right down the bottom of the South Island, amongst the Kati Mamoi, it was more women that were the gardening tohangas. And in fact, the most famous are women. They're the grandmothers. That doesn't say that the men don't do it as well, But what I can be sure of is that in my own tribe, women were just as important as the priests of the garden, if you like, or the priestesses of the garden. And in the old days, you had jobs that female tohunga did, and you had jobs that male tohunga did. If something had to be made sacred, it was usually a man that did that, but it was a woman that took the tapu off. So it was very balanced.
Huh. That's interesting.
Mm.
Now, what is this is always a question deck creators hate, so I'm going to ask it because I love it. What's your favorite card in the deck?
The kotuku. The kotuku is a sign that you're on the right track, that your ancestors are talking, that you're listening properly, that the messages are getting through. And every person who moves into this area, especially in the modern age, and even with what I know from my family, you're still inclined to doubt what you're doing. You're still inclined to doubt the messages. See, I like to research on top of what I'm told. So I run to either family and friends or even the library or, and I go find myself something that'll verify what I've been told. So I still double check, although I don't do that as much. The kotuku just kept coming up. And to see that sign gave me confidence with what I was doing, especially when it took so long to find a publisher as well. So,
yeah, I imagine. I was really happy that Schiffer did that because I love their boxes. Schiffer makes the best boxes.
Yeah.
And U.S. Games lately has put out some really fabulous boxes, so I'm really excited to see how that's going. But I love the Schiffer boxes. The first deck I got from them, I was like, what? It has a magnet. So,
isn't that quaint?
A little ribbon. I mean, I played with the box more than I did the cards the first deck I got. Shh.
You do. It's that little ribbon thing, isn't it? It's like, oh, yes. Oh, goodness me. Isn't that wonderful?
I like to open and shut it.
Me too.
What is your birth sign, Western astrology?
My birth sign? I'm an Aquarian.
Ah, I'm Aquarius rising. That's one of the... Polly and I have met online, y'all. I did a review of her deck, a video review, and was laughing hysterically because I was just butchering the words. And she politely and very kindly said, no, you actually did very well.
She did.
And since then, for whatever reason, we have... It's just been real natural. I haven't ever felt uncomfortable or weirder than I normally am with Polly. So it's been, and that makes sense. I usually ask somebody what their birth sign is. Now, is there a different kind of astrology? Is astrology something within the Maori people that's important?
Well, see, astrology is hugely important, but in a much different way. We don't tend to look at, and again, it's about signs. Like Matariki, for example, is coming back into the modern age. They're starting to actually hold public celebrations again, and Matariki is in concept is pretty much the same as All Hallows.
Okay.
Yeah, we clean the gravestones of the dead. We sing songs to the dead. We offer them food. We talk about our whakapapa, our family histories, and all the stories and stuff like that. And it is heralded by the appearance of what we call Matariki, which is the Pleiades.
Ah, so that would be sometime in August. Isn't that when the Pleiades are about? Or is that...
I think they came up around 10th of June this year, I think.
Oh, okay.
Quote me on that.
Okay. It may be a different one. The Leonids are in August, I think, so I may be wrong. Well, that's interesting to me that every culture I've ever met, except Christianity, really, does well, no, because Christianity does. They do All Saints. But, where you go into the cemetery and you honor the dead. In the Japanese, you light candles and you release them on the boat.
Yeah.
There's something. It's really interesting to me that as a human population, honoring our ancestors is still important. I think that some of our cultures have moved away from it.
Yes.
But you were talking yesterday about the cards and how you thought why they resonated with people so much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I've had a number of people come back to me, and I've got to tell you, every time somebody does this, it gives me the biggest warm fuzzies, because there's something that is so special to be able to put something out there and have it speak to people the way you hoped it would. That's just, it's just so huge. So, done again. Up on a tangent. You'll have to ask me that question again, sweetheart. I'm sorry, honey.
You are such an Aquarius. I love it because I do the same. Ooh, shiny. We were talking about the connection that you get when you're reading with the cards and what you think that connection is.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is people have said the messages have been so profound, the voices have been so loud, and that sort of stuff. And I think what people don't quite entirely realise is that these cards are set up as messages from those who have passed. So they are loud because they are rallies, and they don't tend to pull any punches when they've got a message to come through. They're pretty, straight on with it. So I think that's why, well, I know that's why they're so loud, because you're actually talking to your ancestors, to your loved ones on the other side when you use these cards.
Yeah, and I've read with her cards, y'all. I have done a reading. I've put one up on my blog, talked about what it meant to me. There's one card in her deck, and she's going to laugh at me, but there's one card that every time I pull it and I want to show it or scan it and put it up, I get a resounding, stop that, a resounding, no, you may not do that. And do you remember which card that is?
The Ruahine.
Why is that? I mean, I'm an elder, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. Tell them a little bit about the Ruahine.
See, it's interesting. It's so interesting to me, and not overly surprising, but really interesting to me, that we were talking about the roles of women. See, one of the things that isn't generally openly addressed these days, I mean, it is in some families that are a bit more traditional, is the role of the Ruahine. The Ruahine is the oldest girl, and she's usually the one that is trained to keep the family histories. She even has a role. You know how I talked about when a tapu is placed upon something, it is a man that does that, and when it's got to be removed, it is often a woman that does that. Well, it is the Ruahine that is picked to do that. So when the Ruahine card comes back, see, oldest girls in particular, we lose our childhoods early. And there are things that we generally have to cope with that, and this isn't to denigrate other sibling difficulties. I understand they have their difficulties as well.
Sure.
But for the Ruahine in particular, it's like we tend to have a lot more on our plates a lot earlier, and we tend to keep that on our plates a lot earlier, and we tend to feel held back by that. And the fact of the matter is, the Ruahine has the ability to remove what's holding us back. That's what she is. A tapu is a restriction that's been placed on something, either because it's sacred, or because if it's a fishing place, the fish are starting to get a bit scarce, so they put a rahui up and they place a tapu, and it means a restriction. So the Ruahine, when that comes up, you are actually free. You just don't know it yet.
Huh.
So
yeah.
Or it's difficult to accept that you're free as well, because we're so responsible. You know what I mean?
Well, now the word tapu, it's T-A-P-U, right?
Yes. Yes.
Is that any way related to the word taboo?
Oh, now see, I have a limited understanding of the word taboo. So far as I know, I think it could be a similar concept.
Well,
That's as best as I can say.
Taboo to me means, if I said that this tea mug was taboo, that means don't touch it. There's something bad going to happen if you touch it. It's not good, I guess. So I don't know if taboo.
That's kind of, except if you're talking about something in the Maori concept of taboo, then you're talking about, we'll talk about your mug, for example. Let's say that you are from a highly distinguished lineage. So anything that touches your head is highly sacred as well. That mug is tapu, which means that if somebody of a lower rank or somebody who wasn't a part of the family, or if they used it, then they would remove its tapu, and you would get in trouble with your ancestors.
Okay, because I hadn't protected it and respected.
That's right.
Protected it and carried it.
That's exactly right. So it's kind of you are kind of correct, and it is kind of not. You see what I mean? So it's actually quite a They say that every second word in Maori is conceptual. And I would agree with that. So there's a lot more to the meaning of what the meaning of tapu actually means. Yes, I'm loving it, by the way.
What to you is the most? Because I know that you said you weren't, when you grew up, that some of the customs weren't as important. That you've kind of gone back to that. Is that a correct?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. In our family, we were taught things without knowing what they were. Right? So my father could tell you how to catch a glowworm, how to catch an eel with a piece of flax, which is a long kind of leaf, right? And a glowworm. And that is a very old traditional way of fishing for eels. But he couldn't tell you what the word was for that. So we didn't tend to have a lot of the language. We were taught the techniques. He taught me what he called bush medicine. And when I grew up and got interested in alternative medicine, of course I was reading up on Maori medicine, discovered that my father had taught me half of what was already in the book. And it was like, and the more I talked to other families, particularly Kati Māmoe families, Kati Māmoe got very scattered. And I mean, like, there are people in my family that have not walked on their home marae, which is the meeting place of the ancestors, in 70 years.
Wow.
So, so a lot of families are like that. But I think there's an assumption that everything is lost. And the truth of the matter is, you'd be truly surprised what isn't lost at all. I think people assume that because the language is not there, the rest of it is gone. But no, not at all. Once I actually started, I went back to what they call in Whanganui Te Wānanga or Aotearoa, which is it's like Maori school. And you can go back and as an adult and learn the language and stuff like that. And it's a very popular program because a lot of people are just like me, been brought up not realising what's still in their families, been brought up without the language. So I actually went back for a year to try and get some of the language back, because I mean there was some plant names and some bird names and perhaps a couple of other things, but none of us ever realised what part of our heritage that came from till much later. Yeah.
Very cool. For whatever reason, that part of the world really draws me. There are a couple of places. One is China, right during the Boxer Rebellion. Now, it's real specific. that it's like right before the Boxer Rebellion happens. That's the period that I'm drawn to. I read Pearl S. Buck, and it was like it was almost like I knew what she was going to say in the next chapter. It was really, I didn't talk about it to people because it was like, yeah, you're a little weird child.
No, not at all. Not
yeah, and I was reading her when I was 10, 11 years old. So, because the librarians threw me out of the children's library very early. My mother used to use it as a babysitting service, which I thought was great. She would just drop us off and go off with her boyfriend. And she apologized once to me, and I'm like, oh, gosh, no. I mean, I read The Hobbit when I was 9 years old because of that.
Yeah.
So, I'm good.
Yeah.
And now I've gone off track. La, la, la. Oh, places that you're...
I'm glad to see somebody else doing it.
So, but places, and for me, it was... When I think of New Zealand and Australia, I am more drawn to New Zealand than I am to Australia. And I love Australia. I love the idea of going there. I think a lot of Americans, we have this, you all live in the bush. I know that New Zealand is not Australia, but to us, you're all out there with Crocodile Dundee. Congratulations. And Steve Irwin. May he rest in peace. I miss him. I used to tell people he was my boyfriend. But, so, do you have places like that, places that you've read about or places that you've looked at online that just like call you and make you go, that's it?
I am actually very, very strongly attracted to Chinese culture.
I'm not surprised.
Well, and I mean, talking to native speakers and Japanese culture for that matter, talking to native speakers, I have on occasionally been told that a word that they've just taught me, I've gotten the pronunciation so close, it's uncanny, and it's not surprised me at all. What else? Oh, ancient Sumeria. I adore the place. I just love it. So, yeah, ancient Sumeria. Oh, yeah.
Well, you would have liked last week because she writes about ancient Egypt.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what her books are based on, all their contemporary paranormal and urban romance, urban fantasy, but they're all have a lot of Egyptian mythology coming up through them.
Wow.
I hate the word mythology because to me, one person's mythology is another person's religion.
Oh, yeah. I have a very different view of that particular word myself. When I hear about a myth, my question in my mind is always, where's the grain of truth in that one? Because I think that archaeologists should be working with local folklore and myth.
Yes.
There's just so much there. And I mean, like, the Hill of Tara, for example, that's a stunning example of exactly that. And what else? Oh, no, I've gone off track.
It's okay.
Well, I'm so brainless today.
Now, we've got a lot of people in the chat room, and I kind of promised them that you might be doing some mini readings. Are you up for that?
I think so. I'll give it a go. It's a first go.
Well, I'm going to be greedy. And instead of asking for somebody to call in, look, Arwen's called in.
Okay.
So I wanted to know if you would just do a little mini reading for me.
Okay. Do you want me to? You need me to pull the cards, or?
Yeah. I couldn't find my. Yeah, it's somewhere. Well, because you said that it couldn't go. I couldn't put it nude or other places. I got weird about it, and now I can't remember where I got weird about it and where I put it.
I'm so sorry, honey. When you need it, it will come. But I know that the way your mind works, I think that it will not be anywhere near the kitchen, and it will not be anywhere near the toilet. Possibly not even anywhere near the dining room table.
It's not.
It eliminates some rooms. All right, my sweet, here we go. Have you got your question in mind? Think of who you're addressing on the other side for help. Yeah?
Yeah.
Here we go. You know, I couldn't help it. I was so nervous, and I pulled a card, and my beloved kotuku came up. Just, yes. So here we go. All right, first basket of the 3 baskets of knowledge. This is from traditional Maori law. We will separate it just like that, and now I think we'll go hunting. Your first basket, which is, it's the physical world. I hesitate to use the word real world, because the spiritual world is just as real. Not that I need to tell anybody here that. But here we go. For our Arwen. Your first card is the matao. Can you see that?
I can't.
Ah! Rats! The matao is, well, you'll see it written elsewhere as the hei matao, because normally it's used as a pendant. It's the fish hook.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the fish hook talks about, it's fishing is about perseverance, it's about patience, it's about observation, it's about you gotta be prepared to find the right fishing spot. You've got to be prepared to wait for the fish. You've got to be prepared to be quiet, and you've got to time it right too. So there's a bit of the right stuff. And if you're a traditional Maori, there's only certain days and certain times of the day that you will actually fish for certain fish. So all that comes into it. All that has to be considered. But I'll tell you what. If you persevere, if you take the time to observe and do it, you know, in such a way that you will be successful at fishing, you will be successful at fishing. Your hard work will pay off. There you go. Okay. So your next basket. Now, each one of these baskets. Oh, there's fewer cards in this one. That's interesting. What are you working hard at?
I've got a project. That's what the question's about.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, the hoi card has come up. Hoi, which is the paddle for the waka. All right? And it doesn't matter how big your waka is. It doesn't matter how pretty your waka is. A waka, is a canoe. All right? It doesn't matter how far you have to go. If you don't make sure you've got your paddles and you don't use them, you're not going anywhere.
Ouch. Okay.
What it means, though, is it does also mean that it's almost the same message with a subtle difference. Hard work, you will get to where you're going. Use your paddles. You know what? And I've got to say, every time I watch, see your readings that you've done of specific cards, I just love it. I love the interpretations you bring. It's gorgeous. I'm jealous. Oh boy, what are you up to? Wow, okay. The third card. Now, the third card is the basket that you don't actually want to face. It's the basket that not wanting to face is not necessarily the whole thing. It's the hidden stuff. It's the hopes you're afraid to hope for. It's all that sort of stuff. It's the stuff you keep quiet from the world, and only you know what that is. The third card from the third basket is the poha. Now, the poha is about preparation. Okay? So, the poha is actually, it's used specifically down in Murihiku, which is where the Kati Māmoe, it's the traditional tribal area for the Kati Māmoe. It is used when you go harvesting for the titi, which are the mutton birds. Right? So it's a big thing, and the families go across to the Titi Islands, and before they do that, they prepare great big kelp bags, and they've got to be worked and I can't even remember how they're done. There's just so much to it. But I think it depends on the technique. I think some of them bury them and pull them up and work them. That's right. You've got to blow air into them first and stuff like that. So, but you've got to work them till they're soft. And when they're soft and ready for storage, you build yourself a kete, which is like a little woven basket, and you put the base of the poha in that, and you get bark, and you line the sides of the poha, and you lash the whole thing together. And then you go off to the Titi Islands, and you get your birds, and you store them in the fat inside the poha. Now, those poha have been used for, nearly 2,000 years.
Wow.
2,000 years? No, I'm exaggerating. I'm full of it. About 1,500.
What's 500?
Yeah. And a poha will store a bird, a set of birds. I think, if I remember right, about 5 or 6 birds will fit into a well-made poha, a large poha. And these, and they will store for about 3 years.
Wow.
Providing the poha is made well. So, preparation, my love. Preparation. You know, you're gonna get there. If you look at the cards together, you got some hard work. You've got some stuff to work out. You've got some timing to think about as well. But you will get there. Don't forget to make sure you are well prepared as you do that. So
I'll tell you what the question was about later, because it's not something I'm ready to talk about in public yet. And that's why I'm laughing at all these, because all of them are, they're telling me don't rush it, get it all in place and get it all done out, and no rushing. So. And the fish was funny, because the fishing was very funny as to who I thought might come talk to me. So now we're right at about 18 minutes, Tels. We've got about 10 more, maybe 15 more minutes.
Yep.
You have time to do one more reading for somebody who calls in?
Sure, yeah. I just got to wash my hands first, though, okay?
Okay. We'll let you do that, and we'll get somebody to call in for us.
Yep. I'll just be 30 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, now I've got some water in here. Hang on.
So what Polly's doing is that she's washing her hands, because part of the way, and she delineates this in her book. The book with the Oracle deck, y'all, is worth the entire cost of the deck, because it's got so much information in it. I highly recommend that you get it. You can go to Amazon.com and look up Maori or the Maori Oracle, and PA Minnell is the person we're talking with today. You hear me calling her Polly, but you'll find her on Facebook at facebook.com/PA Minnell, and it's Minnell. All you Americans, stop doing what Arwen does and put an I on it. This is not Liza Minnelli's sister. I do it every time. I'm like, get that I out of there. Or go to facebook.com/The Maori Oracle, and it's MAORI. Are you ready, Polly?
I am.
And do we have anybody calling in?
Not at the moment.
Would anybody like to ask a question in the chat room if nobody's calling in? Me, Cajun D. D, you're up. D, do you want to try to call in, or do you want to do the chat in the chat room? I have the chat room up now. I'm not that psychic.
See, they'd have never known, Arwen. They'd have never known.
I know. Wow.
They're all shy.
I don't know if she's calling or not. She said yes, but I'm not sure if she's calling in. She may be.
Okay.
She'll be calling in from a 504 number. Oh, there she goes. Okay. She says, I am going through some weird things, and I want to know if it's a spiritual awakening or some weird menopausal hormonal stuff.
All right. My suggestion to her is the same thing. She needs to think about who she's asking on the other side. Just for a second. Does she want 3 cards or does she want 1? 3 cards will give her a better outlook.
Yeah, I'm waiting for her to type. 3, she says.
3? All right, 3 it is. Here we go. Ooh, well, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, sorry. I forget you guys can't see. All right. Yeah, no, all right. Okay, cool. First basket, whatever she's doing in the physical world and you know, the world that she's aware of is right. My beloved Kutuku card has come up. So, from that, the words that come to mind is, stop freaking out, darling. Stop freaking out. Just take a deep breath and just cut yourself some slack and stop freaking out. You are on the right path. Yeah. All right, now the next one. The second basket. The card from the second basket is... Ah, yes. All right. You have the Namu Namu. Now, the story of the Namu Namu, this is actually one of my favourite stories too. I kind of like it. The story goes that when the gods, when the world of light came into being, and Pawatunuku, the great mother, was there in all her glory, and Whanganui, the sky father, was up above her, they were bare. And they were very sad because they'd been separated. So the god of snows, Te Ihurangi, he spread his snows about, and Tane spread his trees about, and Tangaroa took care of the seas and put fish in the seas, and depending on which tribe you talk to, they put stars in the sky as well. And the world was very, very beautiful. There was a problem with that, and that is that when the race of man came into being, the world was so perfect that the gods were worried that man would be so reluctant to leave, and when their time was up. So they brought into being, Te Namu Namu. You'd say, in Maori you'd say te if you're talking about singular, you'd say ngā if you're talking about plural, and you'd say hei if you're talking about both. So we would probably use the word he namu namu. The sandflies. Why? Just to remind man that nothing's perfect. And it's necessary that nothing's perfect. So again, you're getting the same message. I think perhaps maybe things are feeling a bit tough. And and this lady might be wondering, this is really quite tough, and I'm not so happy about this. Try to step back again, take a deep breath, remember that things can't be perfect, and cut yourself some slack. So I'm pretty much getting the same message there. All right, here we go. The hidden things, the things we're not comfortable telling other people, the things we're not comfortable necessarily facing. Oh, okay. All right. Honey, I think you're worrying about stuff you don't need to worry about because this one's pretty clear. I think you... Yeah.
I know, Dee, so I'm sorry.
And I think for some reason you feel obligated to worry about stuff as well, and you're making life harder than it needs to be. All right? So again, your third card that came up was the harakeke. Now, the harakeke is kind of like a family thing. You've got the middle shoots that are the babies, you've got the next shoots out that are the parents, and you've got the next shoots out that are the grandparents. when somebody was off on a journey for any particular reason down south, they would pick out the rito, the middle shoot, and that was not normally done. It had to be very special for that to happen, because you actually kill that part of the plant when you do that. So they pulled it out. And if it was even across the base, then it was a favourable outcome, and that is what the card means. So if you put them all together, I'm getting you're worried about things not being just as they should be, or just as you think they should be. You're worried about whether or not you're doing the right thing, whether or not, and the Harakiki says basically at the end of it all, you need to stop worrying and just go with the flow, babe. Does that make sense?
And she said, nod spastically, yay, yay, ooh, oh dear, awesome. I'm reading them backwards. And she just said, okay. And I kind of got teary-eyed when you talked about the second card and the two lovers separated, because that's something that's actually going on in Dee's life. So I was like, oh, I know what that is.
So the beauty will return. Things will be okay. Stop giving yourself such a hard time. That's what I'm getting. Okay? You poor thing.
Dee, what do you have? Do you have any feedback for Polly? Is Jeopardy a thing in New Zealand?
No, but we love it. We've usually got to catch it on places like YouTube.
Okay, she said perfect. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
She said perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Polly, I want to thank you. Our time is up. It doesn't seem like we've had any time at all. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for sharing with us about the culture.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Oh, we'll have to have you back, because this was a lot of fun. And I think we could do a whole hour of nothing but Polly reading. I think people would love that. You've got a great style, and you connect really nicely, and that's lovely. So I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I know you had to kind of stop in the middle of your day. This is the end of my Monday. So I hope the rest of your Tuesday is awesome.
Aww.
And everybody in the chat room, we will be back next Monday at 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. the next day if you're in New Zealand Pacific.
Yeah.
And we will have an East Coast gentleman with us by the name of David Rosenhaus. And he is the creator of the Rock and Roll Oracle. And he also is a life coach. I expect he does a YouTube that's a weekly YouTube, and I expect him to be off the hook fun. So yeah, Dee says that the reading was spot on. She was very, very pleased with it. And I urge people, go to Amazon and get this deck. Even if you're a tarot reader, it's a really unique deck, and it's just, there's something sacred about it, and it's spiritual. That's as good as I can say. It's a spiritual deck that it's one of the few oracle decks that's really hit me as hard as many of my tarot decks. And y'all know I've got over almost 300 decks. But I appreciate your coming here, Polly. Is there anything you'd like to say to people?
I have enjoyed this so much. I'd love to come back, and I am so honoured to be asked. And Dee, that was definitely messages from the other side, darling. There's no doubt about it. So it has a feel to it. Just don't doubt it, And Arwen, I just love talking to you, sweetie. You're just brilliant stuff. So.
We'll have to have Skype dates, because I think there are more things we need to talk about.
It's so cool. Enormous fun. I really enjoyed myself.
Thank you very much, sweetie. I love you, and I'm very glad that you came to see my show tonight.
Love you too.
And to be such a neat part of it.
Yeah. No, hugely special.
And tell the birthday girl that we all said happy birthday again. So
Okay, I will.
Polly has a birthday girl in her family that I got to meet yesterday, and her birthday's this coming Sunday. So happy birthday, birthday girl. Thanks very much, y'all. And we've got 6 minutes left. Does anybody have any questions for us? Anybody want to ask a question about Polly or the cards or anything like not a reading, but just a question?
Ding, 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 ding.
I can't tell people. I work in chat during the day, and I can see if the person's typing, but I can't see here if somebody's typing. So it's like, are y'all still there?
You there? That's okay. I can deal with that.
Oh yeah, fine. Mrs. Eric, or is it Mr. Kim? But she said that she's here. Well, does anybody have a question for Polly or for me? If not, we're going to talk about you people. Okay, Polly, if I'm coming to New Zealand, what's the first natural spot that I have to see?
Oh, well, first natural spot. Well, I'd actually take you up the river, up to Putiki, to be honest.
Okay. Why?
Everybody goes up to Rotorua, and Rotorua is fantastic. But and actually, there's places in Rotorua I'd take you. It's just that, okay, in places like England and throughout Europe and stuff like that, you can feel the energy of places, and the energy feels old, right? That's the energy is still old in New Zealand. It's just that the relationship between humans and that energy is young. And there are places where you can feel that oldness and the willingness to connect to the human mind. And it's, yeah, I'd like to take you places like that. So you can just sit on the ground, and breathe it in, and then we'll take you back for some hangi.
Now, is the river someplace you can swim?
Food. Sorry, darling?
Is the river someplace you can swim?
Oh, yeah, there are many, many places you can swim in the rivers here. Many places. Some places not so much anymore. They're not what they used to be. But there are other places that are very, very beautiful, very special. So
we do have a question for you. Katarina Wolf wants to know, how long have you been doing readings?
Let me see, about 2 months. No, not really. I don't tend to use the cards to read. We have, I think you'd call it mediumship, and we call it matakere, and I've done that for many, many years. The gift is on both sides of my family. My aunt runs a mediumship group in Auckland, which is further north, and my mother has the gift as well. So I don't tend to use cards when people ask me stuff. And the cards were created so that other people could more get the same kind of way of reading. And since they've been published and since they're in my hot little hands, I find myself actually using them as they're intended as well. So yeah, no, they were intended as a way to pass on those ways, a modern vehicle for those ways. So I don't tend to need cards so much.
Cool. And one last question. Dee wants to know, can you see things for us through this sort of venue? So if you're reading for somebody, I guess, long distance.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
I know that I can also, because it's an energy. Energy is energy.
Yeah. Well, everything is connected. You call it. Some people might call it the Akashic. Well, ancient Maori called it the Maori, which is Mauri, and you can contact with people that you're talking to through the Maori in the blink of a thought, basically.
That's interesting that it's so close to Maori, only by one letter. Is there a reason for that?
No, I couldn't tell you. There's debate on. There's actually debate on what on where the word Maori in particular came from as the name of the Maori people. They tend to call themselves the people of the land. More than, Maori is kind of like a 19th century word, and I think it was used to determine that this is our people and the Europeans are the other people. So, Maori, however, is a word that is thousands of years old, and it seems to be the same between the tribes. I haven't seen one tribe use a different word for it. It's all been the same word.
Very interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're at 10 o'clock, so thank you again so much, and thank you for taking those last-minute questions as we finally got warmed up to, wait, there is stuff we need to know. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later, sweetie.
Thank you. You have a brilliant evening, and thank you so much. That was great.
Seek joy, y'all.
You too.